Hello, everybody. Louise Eddington, Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and I'm joining you today to talk about Venus. Most of you know that I've been a practitioner working with Venus in great depth since Venus came to me in a dream early in 2017 and gifted me my celebrated Venus retrograde heroine's journey class, which is next September. So watch for that. You don't want to miss it because the Venus cycle is very intimate to our humanity, and the class has just grown and grown and become more important. We do shamanic journey work in it, shamanic healing work through Venus and through the Venus cycle. But enough for that. Before I dive in as well, though, talking about what Venus is doing right now is that, yeah, so I have raised so far sponsorships for my 10K run for the food bank. I have raised about $1,200 so far. Every time I look, there's a new one coming in. So if you would still like to sponsor me, I'm doing that early on the morning on the 27th on Thanksgiving. Doing my first ever 10K, but I think it's going to be okay and easy because I walk 4 miles a day, right? Anyway, and people are in such need at the moment. But if you're also interested in joining my Spiral Codex membership, my newly reimagined membership with all kinds of benefits, weekly calls, big discounts, access to my beginners astrology self-paced course, which is going to be updated over time. If you sponsor me for $50 at least for the 10K, and then email me, Louise at louiseeddington.com. I will give you a coupon code to get 25% off either a 6-month or an annual membership. Annual's better deal, but not everybody can manage that because you have to pay that at once. That's just the way the system is. But anyway, consider it if you are ready to take a dive in. It's a great time to do it, to show thanks to both the universe, to help feed other people, and or to join my membership community, which, despite many technical issues on the new platform, which are being sorted out, is going to be amazing. And they are jumping through hoops to solve any problems. So anyway, consider that. All the details in the description. But now on to Venus. So I'm going to share some charts on and off. Venus is about to disappear from view. Now I'm going to show you a site where you can actually see where you are, whether she's still visible, because it does depend where on the planet you are and what view of the horizon you have and things like that. But the official heliacal set is when Venus and the Sun are 10 degrees apart. And that's actually very early tomorrow morning, set for Washington, D.C., 12:30 a.m. Now, Venus is going to be out of our view officially until February the 16th. So you work that out. December is 31 days, right? December is 31, January is 31, and then that's 16 in February, and we are at 26, so we've got 4 days left in this month. So 1, 2, 12, 82 days officially. Venus will be invisible to us on the far side of the sun. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Venus cycle. I can't teach the whole thing in a quick webinar, But I do want to say that I think this is really significant for many reasons. But let's have a look at the chart for the heliacal set. What's happening right now? So Venus and Mercury just met. Mercury is about to station direct on the 29th. Here's Venus and here's the Sun. The Sun is in Sagittarius. They are 10 degrees apart. Venus is finishing up, digging deep into power games, manipulation, and so on. And then Venus will travel right through Sagittarius, right through Capricorn, and right through Aquarius till she comes out the other end. And I always think of what's called the exterior or superior conjunction traditionally in astrology. I always think that is the actual kind of energy of the planet that is in its underworld, whereas the retrograde Venus is about our inner transformation and healing from the inside out, right? But there's so much more to the Venus cycle. I do not have time to go through it all. Just to say, though, that this is a really long journey through the underworld. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. I'm actually going to show you a site where you can find more details on this. Now, you might be going, whoa, she has added quite a few extra bodies in there. I can tell you they're all relevant, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's, I actually want to draw lines. Okay, as Venus goes into the underworld, she does so activating this ongoing water grand trine that we have talked about over and over. When I say we, I mean we astrologers, but for me, I particularly mean me and Kathy, me and Dabney, we talked about it too. And so this water grand trine has gradually been eroding things. Now, not only that, Saturn is about to station direct as well as Venus disappears into the underworld. To my mind, this is going to mean that an awful lot is going to shift right during this 82-day journey on the other side of the sun from our perspective. I always feel, because I like to talk to the planets, they talk to me, I listen to them. I always feel that when Venus is on the other side of the sun, she is streaming through messages through the sun, our core, right down here onto Earth that we need to know. New information, new healing, new change. And then, as I said, the retrograde journey is more of an internal journey, in my opinion. But also that means internal individually, but also as humanity and on the planet, because Venus is closest to Earth when she is retrograde. So, and anyway, long story short. But anyway, other things to mention while she is going into this. I'm kind of mind blown by all of this. So I'm going to give you a few thoughts, but there's so much more I could say. But anyway, as Venus goes into her underworld, she is, Mars, is exactly to the same degree with Black Moon Lilith, which is the original kind of divine feminine. It's about shame and kind of like being made out to be, or being shamed for being elementally who you truly are. And Mars is action and will and drive for the future. You'll see in a couple of other charts that Mars is very involved in this journey. Sagittarius is about truth coming to light and about wisdom and philosophy and movement forward. And these two are also conjunct the south node of Uranus. You're like, I've not heard of that before. But this is important because I'll tell you why in a minute. So as this happens, Mars and Black Moon Lilith and the south node of Uranus are square to the transiting nodes. And they are also square to the north node of Uranus. Now, without reading the whole book to you, Mark Jones wrote a great book on planetary nodes. Also, Dane Rudhyar did quite a bit of writing on the planetary nodes. And a little bit like the moon's nodes, they represent this kind of path from the past to the future, but they also operate a little bit like the planet on steroids, if you like. So, you know, any contact to the planetary nodes is huge. And because it's squaring the nodes of the moon, we've kind of got this underlying energy kind of bringing in this big shift that we are going through. Okay, major shift. Mark Jones in his book talks about the planetary nodes and their influence on big shifts in the planet. And not only that, though, I'm just going to get my arrow back. This is the list of Venus star points, which I'll talk about in a minute. But you can get this off sophiavenus.com, which is Ariel Gutman's website, but I might add it to mine actually. This is also, you see this, June the 4th, 2024. Okay, we had a star point direct again at 14 Gemini. And the nodes of Venus are also in this sign, by the way. So this is like huge. And I don't want to get too technical, but I might try and just tell you a bit more. But let me tell you what degree the Venus ascending node is at right now, because the geocentric planetary nodes do move around a little bit. They kind of oscillate. And where's Venus North Node gone? I thought I'd added it. Oh my goodness. I should have added this. Actually, that's not today. Bear with me. Today, when Venus disappears, what's called her heliacal set officially, the Venus star point, which does move incredibly, is at 5 Scorpio. So we've got the north node of Venus as well in Scorpio, where we've had all this immense kind of digging up of secrets, but also people kind of waking up to the power games and the power over paradigm and the corruption and the rot and all that kind of thing. Even more people. Anyway, I'm going too much in the weeds, but Mars and Black Moon Lilith are conjunct the south node of Uranus. The north node of Uranus on this day is at 14 Gemini, which is where we had a Venus star point conjunct the north node of Uranus and the north node of Venus back in 24. So something that began then is changing. These Venus star points are very potent, but also it's square to the lunar nodes. So that's bringing our if you think of in mundane astrology as the moon as the people, I'm going to say the collective nodes in the whole chart are about our trajectory, what we're becoming more of. And so I've talked about that a lot. This is the practical mystic kind of axis, practical Virgo, north node, mystic, but also with the north node in Pisces, we are being called to more empathy, more forgiveness, more love, more agape, all that kind of energy in Pisces. I'm not going to talk anymore. But also Gemini and Sagittarius is about truth, knowledge, understanding, perspective. And this makes a mutable grand cross, which is all about shifting our perspective based on kind of new information and also new understanding and new feelings. And I think we're beginning to see this at a rate of knots. Okay, right now, this is just an intense time of change. I'm not going to talk about all the other aspects right now. I just kind of want to give you a bigger picture about how this really does kind of move us into this new paradigm. So then on January the 6th, we have the Sun and Venus meet at 16 Capricorn, and that they meet here with Mars conjunct. Incidentally, Vesta is at 27 Capricorn, which is the degree, it's an important degree. It's where Pluto stationed direct for the penultimate time in Capricorn before leaving. But this is also important because 4 years ago, we had the Venus retrograde star point at 18 Capricorn. I'm going to go back to this list.
Here's what I found.
Ooh, my watch is talking to me. Maybe I will put this in the description if I can figure out how to. January the 8th, 2022, we had what's called kind of a new Venus retrograde star point, where Venus became morning star. That's morning star is more associated with kind of action. Mayans also called the morning star the war star, and a war began in Ukraine. The invasion happened after that star point 4 years ago. And here we have peace talks going on. No comment on the plan, but at least they're talking, I guess, right? You know, so we're kind of at the full Venus here on January the 26th coming up. And now as Venus goes into her underground, this is time to bring in new perspectives based on what was happening as she disappeared into the underground. Also, Uranus is trine Vesta. Vesta is the state, Vesta is the hearth. Uranus is at 27 Taurus, where Uranus is going to station direct for the last time in this sign and move back into Gemini. So all this is happening while Venus is in her underworld, right? So this is kind of things happening beneath the scenes, things happening that we might not see, but also streaming in this new information and a rebirth of Venus on her full moon, and what we need to release in many, many ways. And reminder that Venus represents many things. She's the big sister of Earth. She is kind of asking us to really dig deep into our values and our relationships with all that is, the material world and each other, and so on and so forth. So again, I do not want to stick too long to this because there's an awful lot going on right now, so I'm not going to go into it all. So I want to then show you when Venus will rise. So on February the 17th, 2026, Venus reaches 8 degrees past the Sun, and this is just absolutely mind-blowing. On the exact moment, or as much as my software would do, we are minutes. Why won't it let me draw on here? Maybe I try with Zoom instead. Okay, we are minutes away from a new moon, pretty much. You can see that Mars has also joined in Aquarius, but is conjunct Vesta. Vesta, the state, the hearth, Mars, action, drive, will, all in the sign of humanity, egalitarianism, the people in many ways as well, but also the future. Okay. And here's Venus. Look at this. I could not believe it when I looked at this. Venus emerges, blinking back into the light as evening star, which is more kind of love star Venus. Venus changes from morning star to evening star every about 9.5 months, right? Her whole cycle is regular. But this one is just kind of mind-blowing, okay? She emerges in the sign of Pisces, conjunct that North Node that I talked about forgiveness, empathy, realizing we are all one or we're all interconnected, kind of all of those energies. And Pallas Athena, who is kind of the wise strategy, but also kind of the warrior for women in many ways. Goddess in Pisces is fighting for this. This is just mind-blowing. Add into that, Saturn and Neptune are about to have their conjunction at 0 Aries. Yes, they meet every 30, I can't remember the number of years now, but they last met at this point back in 4,300, and I can't remember the year again, BCE. It's been a flipping long time. I think it was 4321. So let me have a look. 26, 7, 4, 3, 6. So over 6,300 years ago. I'm not getting it exactly, which is, you know, a long time and is a lot related to the precession of the ages, but I'm not going to go into all that, and the yugas and all those kind of things. Now then, also on the day that she emerges, Jupiter is at 15 Cancer, and I believe is about to go direct. And I'm going to tell you where Venus North Node is in all of this in a minute on these charts, just to show you kind of how flipping astounding all of this is. Jupiter will go direct in Cancer on March the 10th. So not long after this, Jupiter's at the degree it will station direct at. Things are going to move forward. Uranus is now direct for the last time, square to this new moon as Venus emerges, blinking. But Uranus is in one of Venus' signs, right? So Venus is now saying, you know, radical change. We've seen what needs to change whilst all this massive chaos and rebirth is coming. And now it's time to step into love. There's more I could add about that. But this, to my mind, is amazing, all of this. Incidentally, the superior conjunction that's at 16 Capricorn, relating back to early 2020, is in the sign of man-made laws and structures and kind of all of those energies. So let me just quickly point out where we are at with, so on the Venus exterior star point chart itself, Venus North Node will be at 1 Pisces. You can see that Venus nodes move massively. And this is also pushing us more towards this, you know, agape, whatever you want to call it. And this knowing that we are interconnected, that we are all one. We have a real opportunity here to build something amazing. And then the heliacal rise. Okay. By the time Venus emerges from her underworld, Venus North Node will be at 10 Aries. So 10 Aries was here right on the cusp of the 3rd house in Washington. But that's the degree that Venus went retrograde at last year. But not only that, you know, without going too complicated, and then I'm just going to try and sum it up because it's so much. Oh, and before I do that, let me quickly show you these signs, and I'm going to pull a couple of cards. You know, I hope I've just, don't get too tied up in all of this. Okay, but look at, well, Pluto and Haumea are exactly square again. That's one of their exact squares. They're of 13 exact squares that started in 22 to 20 28 they'll finish. Also, we've got this thing with Pluto going out of bounds from now to 2032. I'm listening to Yuga Shift, a book about the yugas, and he said that we are shifting into the ascending yuga, out of this awful descent, starting 2025 through 2032. All these things are coming together. Okay. And so we've also got Ceres conjunct Chiron and Eris. They're still hovering around those degrees. So much opportunity to do things radically different. But also, Uranus North Node is at 11 degrees when Venus arises, as Venus is at 10, so they are speaking to each other. They were at the same degree back in 2024. Also, this is square to really Venus and the North Node as this happens. It's just all mind-blowing to me, to be quite honest. And you know, I may do more videos on it, or I may just include Uranus North Node and Venus North Node in my videos in future, so that you can see them and track them. But they are working together to bring major shifts. But then after Venus emerges from her underworld, she starts her descent to her next retrograde. Let me just stop the share. There's too much going on for you to see, and I don't want you to get mind blown, because I'm going to sum it up. So Venus will go retrograde. I think it's September the 23rd, 2026. She will then have her next Venus star point at 0 Scorpio, and it's the last Scorpio star point for over 100 years in our lifetime. And then the star point for over 100 years will be in Venus home sign, Libra. This is ending of another era in so many ways, because this Scorpio star point, Venus star points are like an invisible clock moving backwards through the signs from our perspective. But as this happens, and obviously I'll look more at this in detail, Neptune has moved into Aries, Saturn's in Aries, but Neptune is at 2 Aries, which was the point of the current Venus star point. This Venus cycle is just astounding. Also, though, the North Node on that day, October the 23rd, 2026, maybe I just show this screen so you can see it. This is what we'll be working with in depth in my Venus retrograde class, where I can, you know, do slides to illustrate what I'm talking about and more. But this is where what I'm talking about, where Neptune was. But also by then, Uranus is fully in Gemini. Pluto, we already know, fully in Aquarius. Neptune, fully in Aries. Haumea, fully in Scorpio. The nodes, though, have moved back into Aquarius and Leo, and the North Node will be on the moon of the USA chart. So USA is really kind of in the mix, but you know, all that to say. So what am I saying? I'm kind of saying that with Venus going into her underworld from tomorrow morning through till February the 17th, 2026, of course interacting with other energies and planets, and she has that star point, and I'll probably look at the star point in on its own and in another video at some point. This 8 to 2 year journey in her underworld, where she's invisible from us, is going to be another factor in really what is the beginning of the end of the old ways and moving into this new potential that we have. I think, really we are being given a huge, huge opportunity to grow and change. And Venus really is all about thinking about our relationships with each other. She'll emerge in Pisces, conjunct that Pisces North Node, remembering that our karmic potential or our future potential is really about this interconnectedness, choosing love, choosing forgiveness where people are willing to make amends, letting go of this power over paradigm. I've actually had a conversation with a friend, and it was about our different YouTube videos and some of the comments on it about this apparent kind of awakening by Marjorie Taylor Greene. And there's the usual comments still of, well, she still needs to be held accountable. She's caused so much damage. I kind of see it a little bit differently. I think we have to move out of this punishment paradigm. She was clearly in a cult. She was taken in. She's starting to wake up. Does that make her a perfect person? No. But she's resigning, and her you may think she was acting. I didn't kind of get that vibe. I kind of felt like she's deeply hurt. She was taken in by this cult of MAGA and you know who, and she's feeling like, I can't do this anymore. And I know that people can change because I have in the past. I've woken up. I'm not going to talk about where the awakenings were. But anyway, this period of 82 days, and as Venus emerges and starts descending as love goddess, which is the more peaceful goddess. It's Venus Hesperus, which is like more contemplative. If you think of Vespers in the church, that's like that evening prayer of going down into that inner world, into the dark, of more forgiveness and interconnection. All these things cannot be made up. I am convinced that the cosmos as a whole is telling us that we have this opportunity to really choose love and change the world and create a world we want to see. We are moving out of this old paradigm in so many ways. Ages and ages of really descending consciousness. You'd have to read or listen to the book Yuga Shift to talk about that. We believed that, that it was survival of the fittest and that we were kind of growing and evolving to be better. Well, actually, I don't think we were. I think we've been devolving into this horrible kind of mess of hating each other and power over and greed. And really, I guess the 7 deadly sins, right? So, not that I'm religious, you know me. But anyway, I wanted to pull some cards. And these really are kind of just a guide to how you start into this 82 day journey right through till February the 16th, and how you can work with this energy more internally as I do the videos for new and full moons and more and things, and how we are shifting in such a big way. All right. So I pulled the Labyrinth Walker. I'm going to read I pulled them from the Witch Oracle deck. The Exile. Venus is really in her exile. And She of the Invisible Ally. Keep getting that one. Okay. Interesting. I've never pulled the Labyrinth Walker or the Exile from this deck before. So we go to card 25, first of all. As a reminder, it's the Witch Oracle deck by Angie Sullins writing. Her partner did the artwork. And I bought this off her website, which was one of a limited edition deck, but I think it's available elsewhere. I think there's a few a couple of extra cards in this deck. Anyway, the Labyrinth Walker from the Witch Oracle deck, which is kind of funny because I talked about labyrinths in the last Venus retrograde class, but we all seek comfort in its human nature. After walking the labyrinth, we desire to sink into the center, relax, stay, maybe build a home there. We yearn to become centered by stasis, as if our spiritual, physical, or emotional well-being is a target we can hit, a status we can achieve. We get to the center and believe we've arrived, as if our well-being is a goal with a finish line instead of an ever-evolving process, a continuum we walk daily. We seek the center and want to stay, not realizing the center, if occupied too long, becomes a trap. Stasis turns to stagnation, just like a river that no longer moves. This is the time to embrace the continued journey inward towards source, the imaginal and the liminal, and outward towards life, the practical and the tangible. The liminal, imaginal things, Pisces, North Node. The practical and the tangible is the life, the Virgo energy, where Venus will emerge from the underworld. Whoa! Anyway, a witch knows her journey moves in both directions, inward and outward, and doesn't count the steps inward as accomplishment, nor the required steps outward as failure. She embraces both expansion and entropy, and is devoted to the path as it circles and changes. Okay, now to the Exile card. Which is card 38. And incidentally, if you can't download that PDF for the Venus star point list of dates and things, go to sophiavenus.com, or maybe I'll find a way to add it to my website as a free download. Anyway, the Exile. There will be times when you are the exile, searching for your belonging the same way the ugly duckling went from place to place in hopes of home. This can be a situational, temporary sting, or a long, drawn-out ache of longing as you seek out your true place. Either way, it's incredibly painful. To the witch, it is a form of initiation and needs to be greeted with respect. Your quest for connection is a holy one. Like a priestess from Avalon, you must greet the fog that shrouds your true home with your soul's song. Only the truest words from your most authentic self can break the spell and clear the fog, revealing the Isle of Apples, your place of belonging. The witch knows her soul's song. So here we are again, the exile. I'll photograph them and upload that with the podcast somewhere. Anyway, the witch knows her soul's song comes from dropping down into the wound of her unbelonging. Now is the time to apprentice yourself to the lostness, to companion the longing to belong by asking what the longing wants from you. This isn't the time for self-improvement or development, cutting away or transforming what makes you feel like you don't fit. Rather, it's time to ask the voice of the void what it is yearning to create in you. Yield to the ache, dear witch. The longing is forging a sanctuary for you, if only you'll follow its voice. Oh, she's such a powerful writer, and that card really hit home. Okay. 7. Remember I said Venus is in her outer world journey, so perhaps this is more about what you do in the world and your place in the world, and where you felt an exile in many ways. Okay. And then lastly, this card we keep getting. the she of the invisible sky. This is, to my mind, when Venus emerges. This is 7, the card number 7. Can you see the whales in the sky and above the ocean and all of that? So, she of the invisible ally. There are unseen forces guiding you right now. They rarely let themselves be seen, but that doesn't mean they're not there. While it's true that you often name and number your resources, you often forget about the unseen ones. The invisibles are available to you always, but they tend to dwell in the higher places, energies of awe and wonder and awe, curiosity and hope. Petition them. A witch will reach into these energies and swim with them through the cosmos. This is a good time for dreaming and journeying. Take a walk in nature. Seek out a credible plant shaman who can help you access the gifts of the green world. Spend some time in the liminal realm with active imagination. In the tradition of archetypal psychology or shamanic journeying, as initiated by Jung, or way before that actually. But anyway, put yourself in the way of magic. Helpful spirits are ready to guide you, and now is the time to summon them to show themselves. All right, so I just want to show you quickly those sites I mentioned. So first of all, I'll come back to that one in a minute. If you want to see where planets are visible in the evening sky, it's timeanddate.com/astronomy/night/. Okay. And you can set it for your location. So, no, it doesn't like my small town, which is like more like a suburb really. So Salt Lake City, that's all right. I'm part of that. So if I set it for Salt Lake City and I go down here, I can see that Venus is barely visible today. Okay. And it gives times and all kinds of things, rising and setting times. Venus is rising at 6:36 a.m. just before the sun still. I won't see it though because I've got big mountains to the east because she's rising in the east. So you have to have a good view of it too. This is why I'm saying that it depends where you are in the world. So you can go and look for that if you like. Okay. For Venus disappearing as morning star. I also want to mention these two really good pages on horoscopes.astroseek.com. You can take a screenshot, or if you search astro-seek.com, Venus phases, you get this. These are the dates of the conjunctions. Another way to find them without the PDF, and it takes you way ahead. Look at that. That's right up to 2056. Wow. Okay, and the other page on our Astro-Seek is horoscopes.astro-seek.com/Venus-cycle, blah, blah, blah. Again, you can take a screenshot, or if you search astro-seek.com petals of Venus, you will find this page. And this gives you the evening rise, the setting dates of officially, and various other things. So those are great sites for tracking any planetary cycle as it is in the sky, really. All right, so I'm going to pull one more card, and you know what? I think I need to quickly look at the Sabian symbol for this set. I'm not going to look at all the others. So Venus is at 24 Scorpio as she disappears officially. So we always go up. So that's 25 Scorpio. And I'm going to read James Burgess, his site. So the actual symbol is an X-ray, or Rudyard said it was an X-ray photograph. And this is all about penetrating, seeing beneath the surface to an understanding of life. Reality cannot be understood without going into things deeply and perceiving through the illusion to the truth of life's essential order, penetrating beneath the surface to know the mysteries. Okay, so this is Venus' message for you as she disappears, in my opinion. So I'm just going to look at John Sandbacher's symbols too, because in many ways I often prefer them. So the Omega symbol is a composer of simple melodies. He says this degree has a simple and direct way of expressing itself that is beautiful, memorable, and which can make a vivid impression. It has to do with the removal or reduction of complexities that then allows the true essence of a thing to shine through. This gives the world a clarity that is revealing and refreshing, a window into the realm of spirit. And the Chandra symbol is a doctor experimenting on himself with new drugs. Here is a doctor who is utterly dedicated to their patient and wants to know firsthand the effects of these treatments. There's much fearlessness here, as well as curiosity, together with a determination to innovate. This symbol seems so drastic compared to its Omega symbol counterpart, though the Omega symbol makes us aware that there is a side to this symbol of joy and beauty. The simple melodies are healing and magical formulas in the form of note sequences that summon the elementals and angels of healings. The doctor of the Chandra symbol is protected by their loving intent, which surrounds them with powerful nature spirits. I will let you think on to that. But again, a reminder that if you donate or sponsor rather for my first ever 10K at 8 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, the people of the food bank will really appreciate it, because apparently in some places numbers of people have doubled. People are really struggling a lot right now. So there's that. And then if you want to join my membership, I'm probably going to have to extend it a little bit again, just so that you can get in, because there's a coupon glitch at the moment. But if you sponsor me for at least $50, you will get 25% off. And you have to do that before the end of the 26th, because that's when the sponsorship finishes. So you won't get the discount after that. So, and then once all these tech bits are sorted and things, I will be closing enrollment in my Spiral Codex membership for now. So I also pulled the Two of Threads, which is like wands, the fire. This is I Am Adventure. This is your red thread of future planning. It just reminded me that I need to put a new red thread around my wrist. And this is also the unraveling. But there's a labyrinth. Go back to that one. That other card from the Witch Oracle deck. These are amazing times, people. And I'm not saying Venus Underworld journey is the only thing. It's just a big, big part of it, of this big shift or potential for expansion of consciousness and for us to move out of these dark times. I love you. See you next time.